Hi students, today we'll be learning how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. First, let's do a warm-up reviewing how to complete the square. Following these steps, first we're going to move the fake c to the other side. So here is a fake c, so we need to add 6 to both sides. We get x squared minus 4x equals 6. There's that canceling out. Step 1 is done. Step 2, make sure your square term has a 1 in front. Looking at the first term, x squared, it does have a 1 in front, so that's already done. Next, we need to add b over 2 squared to both sides. So in this case, our b is negative 4. So let me show you on the side here. So we have negative 4 divided by 2 squared. We're going to add this to both sides just like the step says here. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. So we add 4 to both sides. Okay, we've done that. Now it says write it as a perfect square. So this becomes x minus 2 squared equals 10. That step is done. Take the square root of both sides. So I'll go ahead and take the square root of the left side and the square root of the right side. When you do this, you get x minus 2 on the left side and plus or minus the square root of 10. Step 5 is done. Add or subtract to isolate the variable. So we'll add 2 to both sides. So our final answer is x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 10. Okay. Now the purpose. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve problems using the quadratic formula. So here's the quadratic formula. A nice little rhyme to remember what it is. It says, the negative boy wasn't sure if he wanted to go to the radical party, but the boy was square and missed out on 4 awesome chicks, and the party wasn't over until 2 a.m. So how this helps us, this is the quadratic formula. The negative boy wasn't sure, that's plus or minus, if he wanted to go to the radical party. Here's the square root sign, the radical sign. But the boy was square and missed out, the minus sign, on 4 awesome chicks. But the party wasn't over, here's the division for the fraction, until 2 a.m. Now let's go ahead and apply it. So, looking at example 1, first what we need to do is list out what A, B, and C are. So in this case, A is 2, B is 5, and C is negative 3, looking right here. Okay, let's go ahead and plug this into our quadratic formula. So we get x equals negative b, so we have negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so we have 5 squared, minus 4, a is 2, and c is negative 3. And all of this is over 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, everything is plugged in, so now we just need to simplify, which may take a few steps. So we have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25. 5 times 5 is 25. Now we need to multiply all of this out. So 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. And there's a negative 4 and a negative 3, so that becomes positive here. And all of this is over 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, and now we'll keep going. So we have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 24, which is 49 over 4. We can keep going a little further. So we have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49 is 7, so I can put 7 there over 4. Now because of the plus and minus, right here, we can see we're going to have 2 answers. So we have negative 5 plus 7 over 4, and also negative 5 minus 7 over 4. With the first one, negative 5 plus 7 is 2, divided by 4, which is 1/2. Negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12, divided by 4, which is negative 3. So here are the two values for x. Okay, let's go ahead and try example 2. Same thing here. First, we need to list out A, B, and C. Notice that C is on the other side. So before we list these out, we need to subtract it so that it's on the left side with everything else. So we have 3x squared minus 11x minus 2 equals 0. Now we can begin to plug in once everything is on the left side. So we can see that A is 3, B is negative 11, and C is negative 2. Okay, let's go ahead and plug in from here. Let me clear a little space on the side. Okay, so using the quadratic formula, we have x equals negative b. So we have negative 11. We'll have to simplify that. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 11 squared, minus 4. A is 3, and C is negative 2. All of this divided by 2 times A. So now we have negative 11 is positive 11, plus or minus the square root of 121. Now 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. That becomes positive 24 because 2 negative signs. And 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, we'll keep simplifying. So we have 11 plus or minus the square root of 121 plus 24. That gives us 145 here. All of this divided by 6. Now I know there is no whole number that's the square root of 145. So from here, I'm simply just going to write the two answers. I could actually leave it like this if I want to. Sometimes, if the directions tell you to, you would have to simplify that square root, but it's fine leaving it just how it is, just for the purpose of plugging into the quadratic formula. Or we can separate this into a positive and negative. So we'd have 11 plus the square root of 145 over 6, or 11 minus the square root of 145 over 6 as both of our x values. Okay, you guys, go ahead and try these 3 problems, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.